So in my first beginner guide video of 2019, I talked about Loren quite a bit and how I think she's one of the biggest game changers when it comes to early game progression nowadays. And I only really scratched the surface with her on that video, so I decided to have one specific monster review about her, reviewing her in early game, reviewing her in mid game. I also brought on one of my fellow streamer friends, Taki. So I'm just gonna quickly ask you a bunch of questions about Loren for my new beginner guide series. Can you just please introduce yourself first of all?
My name is Taki. My name is Arian. I stream for fun on Twitch. Summoners War. Nothing more special than that. Please push everybody back. Motherfucker!
What a nice meme, an Austrian guy talking to an Aryan. What? Who's gonna help me out with some G1, G2 insight.
Is Loren worth building? Of course.
I think I'm just gonna put a bunch of timestamps right now on the screen for everyone who doesn't really care about early game. But yeah, with all of that said, let's get into the video, shall we? So I think before we talk about Loren in early game or end game or any sort of situation, let's just quickly take a look at her ability kit and figure out in which sort of positions she can be utilized and why she technically is so strong. Now, the first thing that you want to know is that she has so many different multi-hits in her kit. All of her abilities have a lot of activation rates, so she has a lot of debuffs. As you guys can see, her first skill has 3 hits, which is always great whenever you want to activate certain debuffs, since you get additional chance. Now, normally when you have a lot of hits, you get lower rates to actually activate stuff, but for her, when you fully skill her, it applies a slow debuff with a 50% chance for 2 turns. Now, that's pretty huge, and we want to keep that in mind. That's not going to be the only debuff that we're going to apply. We want to take a look at her passive later on. Her second skill, on the other hand, only has 2 hits instead of 3 and a little bit of a higher activation rate, 75% chance to remove beneficial effects and also apply heal disturb. And on top of all of the debuffs that we are already getting, we get some attack by manipulation on every one of the hits that she does, and also in addition to that, a chance to apply defense break on all of her abilities. That's a really strong and potent kit. All of this gets balanced out by the fact that Loren doesn't really have insane base stats. On the other hand, she's definitely not below average. Like if you look at Fran, for instance, her base stats are just completely worthless and Loren's are mainly just average. So now that we know what Loren actually does in her ability kit, let's just quickly talk about where you can actually utilize her. And the bottom line is you can pretty much use her everywhere in early game. The main thing with her is that despite her not being completely broken as a monster itself, what really makes her strong, and that's the reason why she is so game changing in early game, is that she can basically be useful in every situation in the game. So let's say you pull a really game changing Nat 5 for end game, such as Sierra for instance. You might have some use for her in Giants B10, you might have some use for her in Necro B10. She's below average for both of those situations already right there. And on top of that, you can't really utilize her anywhere else, whereas Loren, when it comes to PvE content in particular, she is completely insane. As you guys can tell from the background, I think at this point we swapped through 3 different dungeons already where she can be utilized and is above average for beginners. And what she also does is she transitions very well from this early game slow beginner team into like semi-speed teams, especially when it comes to Giants B10. I do also think in Dragons B10, depending on which sort of team composition you're actually working with, she can be utilized to a great success.
A great success!
The bottom line is in early game, you do not have that many rune sets to work with, and because of that reason you have to be really smart about which monsters you give runes to, and most of the time it's not about how strong the monster is, but how strong the monster is in how many situations. So because of her versatility, I would rank her amongst the top 5 monsters that a beginner can actually summon and build when it comes to free-to-play progression. So might as well just give you guys my thoughts on every one of the main dungeons where she can be utilized and which sort of teams that I can recommend. With Loren, I already briefly discussed how I think she changed the Giants B10 beginner meta by a lot, simply just because of the synergy that she has with another very easy to obtain monster such as Lulu. Basically, when it comes to building a Giants B10 beginner team, you got 2 options. It's either gonna be something like Veramos and a Bella Dion, or you're gonna run something like a Lulu and a Loren. They both pretty much do the same thing, except the Veramos route is a lot harder to obtain. And obviously Lulu does also work with a Balladion. I just think that those two units, if you only build those two over Veramos and Balladion, you're gonna transition a lot better into semi-speed teams. Partially just because when you're not fusing for a Veramos, chances are you're gonna fuse for monsters like a Airang and also Sig, which both work very, very well. Not just in beginner teams, but also in teams where you run like 2-3 damage dealers and you're trying to combine as many roles in as few of supports as possible, where again Lulu and Loren, they work very well because they pretty much have everything that you need for a very safe Giants B10 team in their ability kits, as long as they land it. Now when it comes to using Loren Dragon's B10, I think it's not really something that I would recommend first and foremost. I think for a beginner Dragon's B10 you can make the point, since she does have a strip and some attack manipulation. I think it's still not that amazing. First of all, her AI actually uses the second skill even when she doesn't need to strip, so that is definitely an issue and reduces her actual like usability. I think there are just way better options out there. I personally am just not a huge fan of like slow Dragon's B10 teams in the first place, so it would be really weird for me to recommend those. I do think on the other hand though that she does have a pretty good synergy with units such as Tark, which again, that's sort of an outdated monster and I don't really want to recommend her in those sort of comps either. I think the only exception again is going to be if you do not own any of the twins, such as the Fire Chakram Dancer and the Water Twins. I would recommend building a Loren for Dragon's B10 speed team, but only really when you do not have anything else that you want to go for. I think building Giants B10 speed teams and Necro B10 speed teams is a lot more important than going for like that sub 1 minute run that is very hard to actually get if you do not have a Vertihal, Galleon and Twins, things of that nature. I don't really want to recommend that to you guys. Another really big strong point of Loren is going to be Necro B10. One of the best debuffs for Necro B10 is gonna be the slow debuff in combination with that armor break that she provides. That's a really good combination already right there. The heal disturb also does come in handy. The attack by manipulation really doesn't do anything for the actual boss fight itself, but all in all I would say that she's definitely another one of those above average picks. I don't really think that she's like S tier or anything like that. You're gonna swap her out once you get into actual speed teams by running something like a Lucian triple twin composition, something like that. But pretty much she's sort of the poor man's lich that nowadays is rarely used because twins are just way better, and also they are sort of required to have skill ups. But especially if you want to get into Necro, if you really desperately are trying to get additional mana and you want to have a couple of will sets just to make your bruiser team compositions work, might as well pick her up. She's definitely not that bad. I personally am not really farming Necro right now. As you guys can see, my team composition, it's like sort of okay. She takes like 2 minutes 30 to actually clear that dungeon. I'm probably gonna wait until I have like one more twin or like a Fran and go from there, but until then this should do. Now when it comes to how you actually want to rune a Loren for beginners, I think it's pretty easy actually. I think you have to realize that she's not meant to do a lot of damage. I tried it out. I actually gave her like a pretty damage heavy build for her. I don't really think that it made such a huge impact, and because of that reason I would actually just go for a rather fast high accuracy build that has some crit rate on it but more HP, more like tanky stats. You're gonna run her as a hybrid damage dealer that actually makes your other damage dealers get enough turns to do what they're supposed to do pretty much. You're gonna mostly use her in like slow teams and semi-speed teams, and for those positions alone that build should do the job just fine. I also do know that some people want to run her in R5. Personally not really the biggest fan of that either, again basically just because she doesn't really do a lot of damage and it's all about finishing that boss in the last stage, and she really doesn't help out with that too much. The rune sets that I would recommend for her are basically situational, depending on are you planning on running her on Necro, where running her on Violent or Triple Revenge is probably the way to go, and if you're not, I would go for a Swift build, maybe a Swift Blade build. Something along those lines should do the job just fine. When it comes to 2, 4 and 6, the build that I went for right now is speed, HP and HP. I did also test it out with crit damage or crit rate on slot 4. Didn't really have so much impact on my actual playstyle or my times, so because of that reason I decided to go for a little bit more of a tanky route, and I am having like a pretty good success rate with that. which sort of builds would you recommend? You already kind of discussed for beginners, like the pure damage route, but like for end game, which sort of builds do you think, and what are like the pros and cons of them?
I can screen share my phone where I can tell you how mine is built right now.
Sure, yeah.
Un momento, por favor.
¿Dónde está la zapatería?
You can play like elevator music right now if you want to. So this is the way I built my Loren at the moment. Okay, just weird flex, guys. Weird flex, 180 violent set. All right, weird flex.
It's
right.
pretty dumb, yeah. Jesus Christ.
So this is my Loren at the moment. These are the stats. You want that accuracy. You want high defense, you want high HP, you don't need attack when it comes to the way I play it. You want her to be able to take damage. Like, many people will focus her down because she is a threat. She has so many debuffs. And because of her stats, she doesn't have the best base stats. So the opponent will almost think, okay, this unit most likely is squishy, so we'll focus it down. So if you have her on really tanky set, it won't be easy to take her. So the way I play with her is violent guard. Most like the offset is basically because it has high speed. I need some grinds for it, but it has high speed, some good stats. But the best thing, like if I had a revenge set, it would fit so much better for me if I had a good revenge set, but unfortunately I don't have any good so this is basically how I play with her, like pretty tanky in my sense. When it comes to Loren, I'm using her as a typical, almost like G1 to G3 kind of unit in RTA. The way I play Loren is as a setup, and when it comes to setup, you can go different ways when it comes to setup. You can actually play her with like a damage dealer, but I just don't want her to play. I don't want her role to only be as a setup. Setup means that okay, I'll like, because of her skill set, all of her skills. The first skill deals three attacks. Second skill deals 2 attacks. Man, I forgot what I was supposed to say. But the second skill does strip. Her second skill deals two attacks, which includes heal block and strip. I could either use her as a setup where I'm speed tuned and I'm faster than the enemy. I do the strip. I go against like a unit with a will, with immunity on him, and is always also squishy, like semi squishy. So I'll land the debuff, I'll land the defense break, I push the unit and the A to B back, and then I have the setup. I have either Ager, which is on damage dealing set, so either he will one-shot it, or he will leave it at like 10 to 20%, and then I have another unit to just follow up and kill it. That's basically how I'm using Loren today. Try to figure out a comp that fits you. Pushback, crit. However, Loren fits into like any team almost. Like you can have a Vanessa, Triana, Loren, Verd with a +1 damage dealer, and that is a solid team. You can use that team for almost anything. Can we push Molong back? Yeah, push Molong even further back. Would have been nice if we could land whatchamacallit. Okay, here's what I want. I want Arta to get a proc. Yeah. So he goes before my Rika. Okay. So can we stun everybody? We actually got stunned.
So I got 2 more questions. Just because I...
Didn't you say two
yeah,
more
shut up.
for this?
Shut up. Do you think, you talked about violent, what do you think about a swift build, and what do you think about maybe even a triple revenge build?
I've never had an experience with it. I don't see many people play with Loren, to be honest. Like every time I see someone, if I face someone with a Loren, I get excited. I get happy. I want to see that unit to succeed. It's a pretty good unit. Not that it's pretty underused, but I see a lot of people starting to, not a lot of people, but some people are starting to use. But when it comes to Swift, I don't think I've ever seen it. Then this is the case with Swift Loren. She's only there for a setup. Then that's the thing. The reason I use her as with a violence set is because she can set up and she can prolong a game. Like she can control a game. With the Swift set, sure, she would have to be really fast to be able to have the same kind of control as she has with the violence set. But as I said, like the reason I play with violence set is mainly because she has a high chance to be able to control the game rather than using it on a Swift set. But yes, she could be viable with a Swift set. It depends on what team you use it with. I can't say exactly what that would be, but mainly as a setup unit. So if you have everyone at like 190 plus 190, 180, 200, every unit, she can act as a setup, and your damage dealers, which is like just one speed under her, can just finish off the unit. The revenge set would be, I guess that would be revenge set would work, but expect the enemy to have immunity. Then her revenge set doesn't do much. It's not the same as Verd. Verd has a passive which raises everybody's ATB by 40% if he lands double crit. It's not the same. So Loren, I wouldn't say. It depends where you use her with the triple revenge. It depends where you use her with the Swift set. But with the violence set, she could be she could be more dynamic.
I think that's pretty much everything. We basically got a little bit of content for Hathor and enough content for Tyrannus and Loren. That's gonna be I'm gonna post like a bunch of videos. I'm gonna like start editing tomorrow more about like beginner guides and whatever. And yeah, sounds good. Thanks, man.
Anytime, bro. Anytime. Twist my nipples. Alright, so we're gonna sleep the Gani. He's gonna provoke Fran. Goes for the... Okay, is Triana... Is Triana gonna go in between? If Triana goes in between... Okay, yes, we are. You know what? We'll take away the slow from Hathor, so Hathor can go in between the Josephine and push back the Josephine, because she has no passive anymore. We're gonna go for this beautiful little fairy. This beautiful little fairy who has nothing threatening against me right now. Okay, we're gonna defense break. Pretty good. Continue. Do some damage. Crit. No crit. Okay, can we crit? No crit. Can we crit again? No crit. Gonna push you back. All sorts are doing RTA? I think so. You gonna stun my Loren? My D Loren? Okay, can Loren proc? Of course, it's my Loren. What do we do? I feel like I have to slow down the Gani. And crit. Put shield up. I mean immunity. Alright. So we'll put attack break on the Sierra. Shit. We want the Sierra to go now. That's not gonna do less. That's gonna be less than 50%. Yeah.
So I just wanted to end this video with a short taste for Taki's stream. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys like the way he just talks and his content in general, he's like a very endgame player and rather free to play himself as well. So getting his perspective was pretty important. We've been friends for a while now, talking to each other as content creators. It's just something very natural to start working with each other. I hope you guys enjoyed that collaboration. I think there are going to be a lot more of those coming in the near future. And until then, see you guys in the next video. Bye!